Are you prepared for life's biggest moments, like purchasing a home or expecting a child? Willmaker protects your family, property, and assets easily and affordably anytime, anywhere. Swap costly attorney fees for America's #1 estate planning software and experience the online ease of creating your living trust, power of attorney, and much more. Willmaker is easy to use, 100% secure, convenient, trusted, legally binding, and you can save money on legal fees. Estate planning on Willmaker is anything but overwhelming. User-friendly guides give you the ability to customize every aspect of your plan and revise documents whenever, wherever. With plans beginning at just $89, Willmaker services save you a lot more time and money than hiring a lawyer. Take the free quiz on willmaker.com, that's WILLMAKER.com, to find the solution that works for you through all of life's exciting changes. You can ensure a secure tomorrow today by using code MINIMALIST10 to get 10% off. Is there anything better than a restorative night of fantastic deep sleep? Think about it. When was the last time that you slept hard? If, like so many other people, you seem to fall short of a really restful and rejuvenating slumber, you may want to consider a weighted blanket. Now, this is why, after trying a Luna weighted blanket, I have to tell you all about it and how you can get one for 20% off. I have the 15-pound gray classic cotton Luna weighted blanket, and I'm telling you, after a month of busy days, I hop into bed and am asleep within minutes. It has contributed to me sleeping better and more deeply throughout the night that I can't say I've experienced regularly over the last few years. You won't get that with other throw blankets or even from other cheap weighted blankets. I think a Luna weighted blanket can help you get that deeper restorative sleep that you deserve. And if you know an extra tired parent or sleep-deprived student or child, a Luna blanket makes a fantastic gift. Thanks to deep pressure stimulation, a Luna weighted blanket helps induce a natural sense of calm and relaxation to both the body and mind. Luna's blankets are made with the highest quality medical grade glass beads and sewn into a gridwork pattern with their super soft fabrics for perfect weight distribution. You can get 20% off your Luna order with my link plus free shipping when you visit lunablanket.com/minimalist, spelled LUNABLANKET.com/minimalist. This is the best Luna offer available right now, so don't wait another night. Order now for free shipping and 20% off your purchase at lunablanket.com/minimalist. Hello and welcome to the Minimalist Moms podcast. I'm Diane. I'm a mother of 3 living in Columbus, Ohio. I'm trying to make room in my life for what matters by getting rid of the clutter and living life with purpose. I hope you'll join me on the journey to think more and do with less. Anyone who has ever set a goal or a resolution knows how hard they are to keep. No matter how good your intentions are when you establish them, it's tough to get changes to stick. If you have yet to meet your goals, you are not alone. Plans get derailed. Even the best laid ones don't always work out. We always have a choice when this happens. We can stress about it, or we can keep moving forward. Joining me for the second time on the show is author Tanya Dalton. Today, Tanya will encourage listeners to consider why. Why do we make the choices we do? What are the choices we want to make? How do we move forward on the choices that we are making? And what if? What if I get off track? I hope this episode will serve you as an inspirational starting point as you begin to think of the changes and the habits you want to create in the upcoming year. Before we get into the conversation, as always, I wanted to share a minimalist resource with you. So just today, Jenny Urich of 1,000 Hours Outside, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, she shared a book list of all the guests that have ever appeared on her show, myself included, which is still remarkable, mind-blowing, humbling. I can't believe I'm among some of these women and men that are on this list. But all that to say, I'm going to be adding several of these authors to my personal book list, and I wanted to share just a few of the names on here. Grow Wild by Katie Bauman. She was also on the podcast. Free to Learn by Dr. Peter Gray. Haven't read that one, but I've heard great things about it. The Rested Child by Chris Winter. Dorinda Wilson, Erin Lochner. This list includes so many wonderful authors that have changed my life for the better. She includes the book title, the book cover, and the episode in which they were on her show, the 1,000 Hours Outside podcast. So thank you to Jenny Urich for compiling this list. I'm sure it wasn't an easy task, but it's such a great starting point for anyone looking to dig deeper into the benefits of nature, sleep, homeschooling, simplicity. This Instagram post is basically a swipe through of all the books I'd encourage readers, no matter where they are in their parenting journey. So I will be sure to link it in the show notes. If you are listening to this after the time that this airs, check out the post from November 7th, 2022. And now for my conversation with Tanya Dalton. Tanya, thanks so much for joining me today on the Minimalist Moms podcast.
I'm thrilled to be here. Can't wait for us to chat.
I'm excited too. You have a new book out, On Purpose, The Busy Woman's Guide to an Extraordinary Life of Meaning and Success. So you were actually on my show when I first took it over on my own, maybe 4 years ago. I don't even know if you remember that, but yeah. So that
I do.
You do? Yeah. Okay. So we were talking about the joy of missing out at that point, but this book is slightly different. So what made you write this one?
Yeah, I love that question because honestly, I wrote The Joy of Missing Out and then HarperCollins was like, oh, we love the book. We love you to write a second book. And so they said, why don't we write a book on goal setting? And I thought, oh, absolutely. I can write a book on goal setting. I've taught goal setting to thousands of women, no problem. So I sat down and I mapped out what I wanted the book to be about. I laid out all the plans. I outlined all the chapters and I sat down and did that about January, February of 2020. And then my plan was to sit down and start writing in March. And then, the pandemic happened. And all of a sudden I'm homeschooling kids and I'm trying to figure out things with my business and all the things that everybody else was struggling with. And the book got pushed on hold. I thought, I can't deal with this right now. I have to focus on my family. I have to focus on what's happening in the world around us. And so it kept getting pushed back. And it was an amazing thing. I think this is the gift of space that we give ourselves sometimes. Sometimes it's intentional. Sometimes it's just given to us from a pandemic or something else. But I was able to really step back and take this very intentional pause. I started to notice the questions that I was experiencing, that the other women around me were experiencing of what am I here doing? Like what are all the things I've been doing in my day that I've been filling my time with? Is this really what I'm here for? Is there something bigger? What's my purpose? And I realized the book wasn't really supposed to be a goal setting book. We talk about goals in the book, but it's not a goal setting book. It's so much bigger. It's about what is my purpose? What am I here to do? What is the work that really matters to me? Goals are the vehicle to that life that we really want, but they're not the end all be all. They're just milestones on our path through life.
Whenever I hear goals, most people set goals at the beginning of the year. I like to set goals at the beginning of the year and around September when school starts. I don't know. I feel like it's a very clean slate for me in September. But you say you read the study that was conducted by University of Scranton that 23% of people quit their resolutions after 1 week and only 19% of individuals were actually able to stick to their goals long term. And so one of my goals with this podcast is to encourage people in their habits and their goals and creating new habit loops in their brains. But if only 19% of people are doing that, how do we get that number higher? That's the conundrum there.
Here's the thing, and this is why New Year's resolutions don't work. It's because we're setting our goals or we're setting our aspirations based off what everybody else is doing or what we think we should be doing. We sit around the table on New Year's Eve and we listen to all these great ideas these people have and we're like, ooh, I should be doing that, right? Or we look around and we say, this person's doing these things. She's doing amazing. I should do more of that. And the reason why we fail so often at our New Year's resolutions is they're not really aligned to that life that we are looking for, that life that we want, that bigger vision that we have for ourselves. And so we start out with that fire in our belly and we get excited that first day, like, yes, I'm going to do this. And then a week later, we're like, wait, why am I even doing this? Like that fire is not burning at all. It's just smoldering ash. Mm-hmm. What we want to do is we really want to align goals that are meaningful for us. And we do that by looking out at the horizon, looking at a bright, beautiful future that we dream about for ourselves. And then we work backwards to figure out what are our goals that we want to set. I think you're right. It's not uncommon uncommon at all to set goals at the beginning of the year. And then I like to say September is like New Year's part 2.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like, even if you don't have kids in school, it's that swing of life where summer is over, it's ready to get back to work and those kinds of things. I think goal setting should happen any time of the year. I do it quarterly, to be honest with you, just to make sure I'm always on track, just revisiting, checking in, seeing if I need to shift my goal some. But really, all along the way, it's making sure that we're setting the right goals. And there's a big difference between setting goals and setting the right goals.
Definitely. And I think for me, whenever I've accomplished something, I try to keep it in the forefront of my mind. I like to listen to podcasts about it. I like to read books about it. I like to write it down and my intentions down. And that has been a fairly successful method for me. But what have you found? It looks like in your book, you have 4 separate sections on how to move through maybe hindrances in our goal setting. But I want to discuss those 4 lessons, as you call them now. So the first one's reflection. You answer the question, why, and why do we make the choices that we do? So do you want to elaborate a little bit more?
Truly, we have to look backwards in order to move forwards. And I think so often we want to pretend like our past didn't happen. We don't like what we did. There's a lot of shame, a lot of guilt, a lot of failure and frustration in our past. So we kind of just want to shove it under the rug, right? And pretend it's not there. But reflection is so incredible because when we look backwards, that's how we know where we want to go when we move forwards. I think there is so much strength in us digging through that pile that's under our bed that we've shoved underneath there. And oftentimes reflection tells us why we want to do the things that we do or why we want the things that we want in our lives. One of the things that people avoid no matter what is regret. We'll move to anger, we'll move to frustration, but we will do anything possible to move away from regret. That's because we don't like that feeling of regret. But the truth is, regret builds resilience. And here's what I mean. If I were to say to your listeners, okay, right now, I want you to write down 20 things that you think you would love to have happen. You're like, oh my gosh, I don't know, 20, and you take a long time and you say, oh, do I have to make 20? But if instead I said, I want you to list out 20 things you don't want to have happen in the next year, 20 things you don't want to repeat, 20 things that you definitely don't want in your future, you would say, only 20? Can I write out 50? It's so much easier to think about what we don't want. And knowing what we don't want is so much more powerful than knowing what we do because we can push against that regret. We can say, ooh, I don't like what happened here. And when we push against that regret, that shows us our resilience and it shows us what we do want. Oftentimes, it's out of our pain that our purpose is truly born. Taking time to really look at that is incredibly powerful.
I think a lot of women and men too get stuck in shame instead of regret. And the shame, the negative element of that keeps them in this negative mindset where they don't feel like they can move forward because they have this weight of shame. Again, not to be redundant, but I think having regret is okay. And you can just be neutral about it. And you can, again, reflect, how can I do this better in the future? But I do think people get caught up and there are 2 different things that play there.
Oh yeah. Shame and guilt. Those are our 2 friends that just wander around next to us through life. And the truth is, it's really interesting because shame and guilt do us no good. Humans are really the only animals that feel shame and guilt. You know, when a cheetah is chasing down an antelope and it misses, it doesn't beat itself up for the next 3 months and say, oh, I'm the worst ever. I'll never do right. It just gets up and it goes after the next antelope. So this is a thing that we have to try to let go of, is that shame and that guilt. Having things in our past that we're not proud of, having things that we are embarrassed of, or things that we wish that we had never done, that doesn't make any one of us unique. If anything, it makes us more human. It means that we're all connected through that shame because we all experience it. If you can look at your past and extract the story, what was the lesson I learned from that? It's so much easier to get rid of the shame. There are terrible things. There is trauma in our past. There are things that we wish had never happened. But out of those things, those terrible things, we got so much knowledge. We got so much expertise. We gained so much from them. I like to say that we walk through life with a backpack on our back, and we're going through life and we're adding in the things that we learn and the knowledge and the traumas and the failures, and they keep going on our back. And we don't realize it's there because it's on our back. It's our backpack. But when we take it off, when we unzip it and we unpack our past, when we use reflection to help us get stronger, we take it out, we see, oh my gosh, there's so much in here. And even these things that were bad, look who I am now because of them, right? It's so hard. People are like, oh, there's no such thing as failure because we learn something from every failure. It's true, but you can't extract those lessons in the moment. It's so difficult. It's only with that bit of time that we can look backwards and really extract those lessons. And when we have those lessons, it's easier to say, I didn't like that, but I got this from it. And it's easier to let go of that shame.
Absolutely. And that somewhat leads me into the next section of your book, projection. And you talk about in this section how to effectively spin negatives into positives. So kind of what we were talking about, like use the regret to inform your decisions moving forward and don't stay there. I liked your analogy. But I also want to talk about, you talk about something called cathedral thinking. Can you describe that for me really quick?
I love cathedral thinking because cathedral thinking is based off the idea that in the 1100s, 1200s, way back thousands of years or hundreds of years, we had these city architects and planners and artisans who built these beautiful cathedrals that have stood the test of time. Notre Dame, the Duomo in Florence, these gorgeous cathedrals. What's amazing about those cathedrals is the day they broke ground, those architects, those city planners, they knew they were not going to see that building finished. The Duomo in Florence took 500 years to build. It was bigger than them, bigger than their lifetimes. Cathedral thinking really is thinking about, what do I want my legacy to be? Who do I want to be far down the road, 10, 20, 30, 40 years down the road? Who is it I want to be? And when we use that cathedral as a landmark for our life, it's so much easier to align our goals to get there. So we can use a process that I walk through in the book called wayfinding, where we look at this cathedral, this big, bright, beautiful future we dream of, and that's our potential. Well, if we were to map it out like on a line map, and we have you are here at one end, and we have our big, beautiful cathedral at the other, that's really far away, and that feels almost impossible. But if that's our potential, and we back up our timeline a little bit, what would be possible in 3 years or 5 years to get us to that cathedral, to get us closer there? Well, if that's what's possible, let's back it up a little bit more. What would be practical? What could I practically do to get me to that cathedral in the next 12 to 18 months? So here we are starting to think more closer to where we are today, 12 to 18 months. All right. If that's what is practical, what do I need to prioritize in the next 3 months, the next 6 months, the next 9 months? Those priorities, those are your goals. Those are the goals that are aligned to your cathedral, the cathedral that's unique to you. That's how we set goals that are truly aligned, that give us that fire in our belly and get us excited to get out of bed each day.
Does that shift like as you're continuing? Because I feel like sometimes when I have a goal that I set, sometimes I'll start pursuing it and then it shifts. And I think, again, you can get stuck in a negative thought process that, oh, maybe this wasn't what I wanted or I thought I wanted it. But I think with cathedral thinking, if what I'm hearing you say is that it's okay because over time the cathedral is still built.
The cathedral is still built, but sometimes your cathedral changes. I mean, think about who you were when you were 20 years old versus maybe who you were when you were 30, right? You're in a totally different life space. That cathedral can change as your life evolves and grows and changes. I think so often we think of things like your purpose as being, this is the one thing for me for the rest of my life. And the truth is, we are continually evolving. We're continually growing and shifting. And oftentimes it's not till we get off of the path that we sometimes realize, oh, this is what I like. It's actually part of section 4 in the book, that 4th lesson about alteration, that we're on this highway going 100 miles an hour, feels like, right? Even though the speed limit's like 65, we're going 100 miles an hour down that highway of what we think we're supposed to be doing or the goals that we set for ourselves 5-10 years ago. And then all of a sudden we look down and we realize, gosh, I'm not on the highway anymore. I'm on this detour. And we look at ourselves and we go, we can either think, wow, I'm a failure. I'm not where I was before. Or we might look around and go, this is really nice. I really like where I am now. And then we can really start making some shifts and adjustments. I think the worst thing we can think for ourselves is that our goals are written in pen. Plans are written in pencil, goals are written in ink. And that was the dumbest thing I ever could have said, because goals should be written in pencil. They should be erased. They should be changed. They should sometimes be thrown away in the trash, because as we change, our goals are going to change and they're going to shift. And that's not failing. That's evolving.
I do want to get to alliteration, but I don't want to skip over action because this is movement, right? So how do we move forward on the choices that we're making? And in this section, you talk about what the beautiful mess effect is. So can you elaborate on that?
So the beautiful mess effect is this amazing effect that we have, that we look at everyone else and we look at their journey and we look at their struggle and we applaud them for it. We admire them for it. We make movies about these people, right? Who've had these terrible setbacks and then they overcome it, right? There's a reason why Rocky is still such a top movie, or any movie out there about a person's life. It's never like this very clean, simple line. We appreciate that in other people, but we look at our own lives and we think, I'm the worst mess. mess, right? When the truth is, we're all a beautiful mess. Let's stop appreciating that mess in other people and start to recognize and appreciate it in ourselves. And that's okay. That's an amazing thing because, again, we're adding to that backpack that we have. All the lessons that we're learning, all that experience, all of that happens in that messy part. Mm-hmm. So letting go, again, of that expectation of what you should be doing or supposed to be doing, for me, should and supposed to be, those are like red flag phrases for me. If I notice myself saying, well, I should be doing this, that's an opportunity for me to stop and ask myself, wait a minute, why? Why should I be doing this? Is this because this is tied to something that I truly want and believe, or something that I think other people have set this expectation or obligation on me? And then I'm able to move forward.
I'm curious to know too, in this section, you talk about, because a lot of what you're saying right now, to me, it sounds like it's a really disciplined person that has a lot of willpower, but you say that those two things are overrated. So what do you mean?
Yeah. Discipline, willpower are totally overrated. I feel like we like to blame our lack of willpower. Oh, I'm just not disciplined enough. I just can't do it. I like to equate discipline and willpower to a white couch. So I look on Pinterest and I see these amazing living rooms with a white couch. And I think, oh, I would love to have a white couch. It's so beautiful. I would love having a living room like that. And then I stop and I realize, wait, I've got 2 kids. I've got a dog and a cat. We like to have movies on the couch on Friday nights with popcorn. A white couch is going to be a nightmare for me, right? That's what discipline is. You look at other people and you feel like, oh, they have it all together. That's what I want. When in truth is, you maybe like a lot more spontaneity. You like a lot more creativity. I do. And to be super disciplined sounds terrible. It doesn't sound like I'm really going to have the freedom to live the life I really want to have, which is ultimately at the end of the day, that's what living on purpose is about, living the life that's true to you. So instead of focusing in on the discipline, which discipline is really just setting up yourself with a series of healthy habits that fall one after the next, that make you look disciplined, but they're all tied to things that you really want. So what we want to do is we want to build self-trust by creating strong habits that are tied to what we really want. So let's say, for example, you want to journal more, or you want to spend more time really reflecting and journaling in the mornings. And you keep thinking to yourself, well, I'm not disciplined enough. I can't seem to make that work. Okay, let's habit stack it. Let's stack a habit on top of a habit you're already doing. In the morning, most people get up and they get a cup of coffee. It's not a question. They don't have to make the decision. It's just, right? The cup of coffee is going to happen. So what if you chose to leave your journal right next to your coffee pot? You get up, you go get your coffee. Immediately you see that journal sitting there. That's going to be your cue. Oh, there's my journal. I'm going to sit down for 1 or 2 minutes and just do some quick journaling. So then you're going to go and start journaling. And then once you start establishing that habit, pop on another habit that's really important to you on top of the journaling, right? After you go journaling, maybe you go for a walk for 5 minutes. And you'll notice I'm saying you're journaling for 1 minute, going for a walk for 5 minutes. We're starting small. The mistake that most people make is they think that they have to make these big, giant leaps, that they can't just start journaling. They have to journal 75 pages, or they have to journal, right? Or they have to journal for 30 minutes. That's why it feels impossible. So starting small and stacking your habits on top of habits you're already doing, things like brushing your teeth, eating lunch, getting your coffee, right? Brushing your teeth at the end of the day, changing your clothes. That's a great way to really build in self-trust. When you have self-trust, you don't need discipline because you already believe in yourself and you know that you're going to be able to do those things that you want to get done.
So good. And yeah, I think a lot of that with the habit stacking, it does come down to consistency, because I love the word discipline, because I do think that I see your whole point in what you're saying, but I also think that sometimes we have to do hard things, if you will, and put ourselves into difficult situations so that we can build the resilience and the strength when we actually encounter like really hard things, like if we're doing minimally hard things. So I don't want to totally poo-poo on the word discipline, but I think discipline comes through consistency, like if you are consistent in your habit stacking, even silly little things, it's like you're strengthening this muscle over time, and then you can have more success with the bigger goals.
Absolutely. And I like what you touched on there. For you, you like the word discipline. So use the word discipline. But for people who don't use the word discipline. Don't blame discipline for why you're not able to do the hard things. When we build that self-trust, we can do it. So again, this fits into that whole idea that your beautiful cathedral, your vision of what you want, your goals are unique to you. There are certain words you'll like to use that I don't like to use, or certain words that I like to use that you don't like to use. We have to stop living our life based off what everybody else is doing and really get clear on what we want, and then making those choices and decisions that align for us. Because when we take care of ourselves, when we take care of our own needs, we're better able to shine our light on everyone else. So it really is about creating systems. Everything I talk about is truly about creating systems that are customized to you, the words you like, the way that you want to run your life, playing to your strengths, playing to your weaknesses, making sure it all really operates and works smoothly for the lifestyle that you want for yourself.
How long have you had your mattress? If I'm being honest with you, I don't want to admit the longevity of ours, but we've been in the market for a new mattress for a while now, and I've really struggled to make the decision because we didn't want to pick the wrong one. I started to regularly hear about Helix mattresses and was curious to see what it was all about. I took the Helix sleep quiz and I was matched with the Helix Luxe because I wanted something that felt medium to firm as I sleep on my back most nights. Not only is the mattress the best I've ever slept on, but the setup was fast and easy. Helix mattresses are delivered in a box straight to your door for free. Helix Sleep is a premium mattress brand that provides tailored mattresses based on your unique sleep preferences. Helix knows there's no better way to test out a new mattress than by sleeping on it in your own home, and that's why they offer a 100-night risk-free trial. Get to try out your new Helix mattress, see how your body adjusts, and if you decide it's not the best fit, you're welcome to return it for a full refund. Helix is offering up to $200 off all mattress orders and 2 free pillows for our listeners. Go to helixsleep.com/minimalist, and by supporting Helix, you are allowing them to support me and my show. Go purchase your Helix and thank me later for your best night's sleep. With Helix, better sleep starts now. What if I told you there was a new product out there that can tackle your negative impact on our climate just by using it once a day? There is. And believe it or not, it's actually a credit card. I was so excited to discover Aspiration Zero credit card. So many of us care about the environment, we care about the climate, and we want to know what we can do to have a daily effect. But it can be daunting. That's why I love this credit card. And I'll tell you a little bit more about it. Aspiration Zero is the first credit card that fights climate change by planting trees with every swipe. The way it works is simple. With an Aspiration Zero credit card, you plant 2 trees with every purchase you make, and 2 trees soak up about the same amount of carbon dioxide from the air as the average American puts out every day. And along with the reward of knowing that you've turned buying a latte into a way that you can do your part to save the planet, you get the other kind of green reward too. Cash. Unlimited 1% cash back on all your monthly purchases when you hit carbon zero for the month. Thanks to people like you, Aspirations made a huge impact. They've already planted 75 million trees. Make your dollars make a difference. Apply for the Aspiration Zero credit card today and earn a $300 welcome bonus after spending $3,000 in the first 90 days. Apply right now at aspiration.com/minimalist to go carbon neutral effortlessly and earn a $300 bonus. Go to aspiration.com/minimalist. The Aspiration Zero MasterCard is issued by Beneficial State Bank, pursuant to license by MasterCard International Incorporated. Good credit required. Terms and conditions apply. Millions of Americans experience thinning hair. It's more than common. It's actually normal, but it's not openly talked about, especially amongst women. Going through it can feel lonely and frustrating. If you're among one of the 30 million women that are impacted by weakened or thinning hair, know you're not alone and that there's a solution you can trust to deliver results. I want to tell you about Nutrafol. It's the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement. It's clinically shown to improve your hair growth, thickness, and visible scalp coverage. It supports healthy hair growth from within by targeting the 5 root causes of thinning, which are stress, hormones, environment, nutrition, and metabolism through whole body health. In a clinical study, 86% of women reported improved hair growth after 6 months. And 3,000 plus top doctors and stylists recommend Nutrafol as an effective and high-quality solution for healthier hair. Who doesn't want that? It's a simple addition to your daily routine. You can grow thicker, healthier hair and support my show by going to Nutrafol.com and entering the promo code MINIMALIST to save $15 off your first month subscription. This is their best offer anywhere, and it is only available to U.S. customers for a limited time, plus free shipping on every order. Get $15 off at Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com. Promo code MINIMALIST. So we talked about reflection, projection, action, and now let's go back to alteration. We talked about this a little bit. We talked about habit stacking, and then you have something you call the 3 A's model for helping you get back on track with your goals. Like you said, September is a great time. October is a great time to reevaluate what we've been doing right, what we want to do moving forward. So what are the 3 A's that you use to help us get back on track?
So you'll remember earlier we talked about that whole idea of being on the highway and then all of a sudden you find yourself kind of on a detour. That's our opportunity to stop and check in. I really love doing a very intentional check-in each quarter. So every 3 months, I just do a quick little check-in and I call it the 3 A's. So you can check in if you find yourself off track, or go ahead and I pop these into my calendar. So it's super easy. It doesn't take me very long. First A is to acknowledge. So acknowledging is not beating yourself up. Let's get that clear right away. But just acknowledge where you are. Okay, am I where I thought I wanted to be? Or am I somewhere different? Again, we're not going to beat ourselves up. It's just really doing a check-in of where you are right now. So doing an acknowledgement. Okay, here's where I am. I'm off track, or I'm in a different place, or I'm right where I want to be. Second A is to assess. And that's starting to ask the questions like, why? What happened? Do I like where I am? Hold on, I'm off that highway going 100 miles an hour. Do I like where I am now? Because sometimes you'll find, wow, this detour is beautiful. I didn't even know these opportunities were available to me. Here we go on a totally different route, right? Or we might say, you know what? I really want to get back on that highway. I liked where I was before. So just doing a quick assessment of where am I? Do I like where I am? Where do I want to go next? Okay. And that gets us to that third A. So we had acknowledge, assess, and that third A is adjust. If we want to get back on that highway, what habits do I want to establish to really get me back there? What kinds of little tiny things, little steps can I take to get me back to where I wanted to be before? Or it might be adjusting the goals altogether. It might be throwing the old goals away and setting new goals because you like where you are. Okay, now I'm here. I want to make an adjustment and I want to shift what I had set for my goals from before and do something totally different, or do something that's related but slightly different. So acknowledge, assess, and then adjust. And once we've done that, let's leave the guilt and the shame behind us and let's keep moving forward.
I love a good alliteration to help remind me. I'm all about that. This was so full of information, and I feel like people are probably taking notes while they're listening right now, or at least if they're not driving, they can do that. But did you have anything else that you wanted to share, or maybe even like an encouragement to women that pick up your book or want to reevaluate their goals in the fall or new year?
So I would say, if we're talking today and you're listening to this and there was anything that really resonated with you, here's what I would encourage you to do. Gift yourself 10 minutes today, just 10 minutes, not an hour, not 2 hours, just 10 minutes for you to take action on something I spoke about today. That might be doing a check-in, doing those 3 A's that we just talked about. It might be doing a little bit of reflection, asking yourself if you like where you are. It might be picking up my book On Purpose, where I dive so much deeper into all of these different areas and we dig into how you can actually set the goals so you can achieve them with a framework. So what is it you can do today that will really help you take action? Oftentimes, it's the small steps that count so much bigger than the big steps. So don't get caught up in, I have to spend an hour doing this. 10 minutes is all you need to get yourself started with that little bit of momentum. And before you know it, you're off and running, moving towards that life you really want.
Absolutely. I always feel like the small wins, getting them under my belt, they really help me with my momentum moving forward. So that's a great word. Well, Tanya, where can listeners pick up a copy of your book or connect with you online if they want to do so?
Yeah, so the best place to find me is on tanyadalton.com, which is my main website. You can also find my podcast, The Intentional Advantage, right here, wherever you're listening to this podcast. As soon as it's over, you can do a search for my name, Tanya Dalton, or The Intentional Advantage, and you can give that a listen. We're 270 some odd episodes in at this point. So much to draw upon that goes so much deeper into all the things that we talked about today. So tanyadalton.com or listening to my podcast, The Intentional Advantage.
Great. Okay. Well, as we wrap things up here, I usually ask every guest these 2 questions. I didn't prompt you for these, so you're going to have to kind of think off the cuff.
Okay.
Okay. So the first one is, what has been a beneficial resource to you that you'd like to share with the listeners? And this doesn't have to be about anything that we talked about today. It can be anything that has been helpful to you.
honestly, the most beneficial thing for me is realizing I'm not alone and surrounding myself with the right group of women who support me and encourage me, and sometimes encourage me to get up when I don't feel like getting up or moving forward. So I want to really encourage you. When I was a young mom, a new mom, one of the things I did was I had a young mom group. When I stepped into entrepreneurship, having a group of women around me who are in that same area of life doing entrepreneurship, really surrounding yourself, because I think the worst thing we can do for ourselves is to feel like we're alone or that we have to have it all figured out. Because the truth is, neither one is right. You're never all alone, and you don't have to have it all figured out. We're all bumbling our way through life. And it helps to surround yourself with the right type of people.
I can absolutely relate to that. We joined a co-op this past year for our homeschooling, and I feel like I have finally found a group of women that is very like-minded, even though we're all very different, and it has been so refreshing. And I think the differences have actually made it refreshing because we have like the common denominator of homeschooling mom, and I don't know, I just really love that. So I agree with you.
So true. So true. Those different experiences add so much richness to these groups. You definitely want to make sure they're diverse, but having like a focus, whether it's being a mom or homeschooling or entrepreneurship or whatever it is, really surrounding yourself with people who get you.
All right. Well, lastly, what is something that you can't stop talking about? And this can be something serious or something silly, whatever you want to share.
Yeah, I like this question because one of the things that I am just really excited about lately is I use like a Kessa mitt, and I do this whole exfoliation process for my body. This feels very beautiful and very self-giving, that my skin feels good. It feels really healthy. And it's such a little thing. I give myself time on Sundays, from self-care Sundays is what I call it, to just exfoliate my skin, to take care of myself, because I feel like it gets me in the right mindset for the week ahead. So that's one of the things I've been really excited about lately. Is it's called a Kessa mitt. It's from Turkish Baths, and it does this amazing job of exfoliating your skin. And it just makes you feel so clean and fresh and new and ready for the week ahead. It's a little thing, but it feels good.
I'll include that in the show notes. And that's a great tool to use in the winter, especially here in Ohio. I feel like my skin just gets incredibly dry throughout the winter months. So that would be really nice to have.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, this was so wonderful, as I said, and I really appreciate you taking the time to come on here and to encourage the listeners today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure to chat again. I had so much fun chatting with you before, so I was excited about our conversation today.
What did you think of the episode? If you enjoyed this conversation, I want to encourage you to leave a rating and review if you haven't done so yet. Leaving a rating and review is the best way you can help this podcast continue to succeed and grow. Again, thank you to everyone who supports the Minimalist Moms by listening, leaving those rating and reviews, or following along on social media at Minimalist Moms Podcast. As always, I invite you to keep the conversation going at minimalistmomspodcast.com, and there you can find links to the Instagram account, my Facebook page, and where you can find me all around the web. Thank you for joining up on this journey. I wish you a lovely week as you think more and do with less.